My name is Kayla Hafliger, and I'm representing Bayonet Point Middle School. Imagine walking miles and miles just to get a cup of dirty water for you and your family to survive off of for a few days. Hard to imagine, right? Just you and your family trying to survive off of a tiny bit of water. This might not come as a surprise if you lived in Sudan. Unfortunately, this used to be reality. But along came one man who dared to make a change in his community and the world. Salva, who experienced his tragedy through escaping the Sudanese civil war and dealing with the loss it brought him, created his organization, Water for South Sudan, which will forever live on as his triumph. In 1983, the Second Sudanese War had just begun. It wasn't until 1985 that the war hit Salva's village. He went to school just like a regular day, but during the day they heard gunshots and were told to immediately leave the building. He lost contact with all of his family in the process, leaving him all on his own. He and whoever else escaped the violence just kept running until they got to safety. Salva was now a refugee. He traveled with roughly 20,000 other refugees, otherwise known as the Lost Boys of Sudan. They walked through wind, rain, and extreme heat in order to get to safety. Although some boys unfortunately lost their lives, they kept on. Many weeks passed until they reached a refugee camp in Ethiopia. They were relieved to find other people, water, clothes, and food. The Lost Boys lived here for a while until 1991, when the government of Ethiopia forced all the refugees to flee again. They began their 800-mile walk to another refugee camp they heard about in Kenya. This time, Salva himself led the Lost Boys. Eventually, they got to Kenya. The refugee camp was now occupied by 100,000 refugees. Luckily, he survived here for 6 years until he heard they were sending some refugees to America for the opportunity for a better life. Salva was thrilled. He waited to see if they would choose him, and they did. Thankfully, he was taken in by the Moore family in Rochester, New York. He lived here for 5 years until he learned his father was sick. He immediately flew to South Sudan where his father was. When he got there, he was told his father was sick with a waterborne disease. He knew he had to do something to help his father and other people in his situation. This is where Salva found his triumph. In 2003, Salva and some of his friends founded his organization, now known as Water for South Sudan. After saving a lot of money, Salva bought his first drill. In 2004, Water for South Sudan drilled their first well. From here, his organization grew and grew. His organization has not only saved lives but diseases, but he has helped girls get an education. In Sudan, girls used to have to travel all day to get water from the nearest source. Now, since clean water is in the middle of their village, they don't have to. This not only gives girls the opportunity to get an education, but it also saves them from the potential wild animals and harsh weather they could come across. Salva has also inspired so many people in America. Because of him, many people are raising money for his organization and creating their own way to help people. Salva is a true hero. Although the tragedy of escaping the Sudanese civil war is unspeakable, he still managed to create a triumph. He changed the world for the good. Everyone should recognize his triumph and respect it. With more people like Salva, we can truly change our world. So next time you turn on the faucet, just remember that not everyone has access to clean water. Thank you.